The Adirondack Hunt Podcast is brought to you in part by Seek Outside Tents. Seek Outside is an American company producing lightweight, versatile tents and titanium stoves. The Big Woods Bucks team and their friends have hunted the Adirondacks with Seek Outside hot tents and found that it's the best way to get back into the wilderness areas and have a remote hunt. With few roads and hiking trails the only way to access the extensive backcountry of the Adirondacks, your pack needs to be as light as possible. Seek Outside's lightweight tents and stoves enable you to get back there into the most remote country and hunt mature Adirondack bucks that likely have never seen a human being. Use code BWB at checkout on SeekOutside.com and get 10% off your Seek Outside gear. Good luck on your remote hunt in the Big Woods. Welcome to the Adirondack Hunt Podcast, a Big Woods Bucks production. In this podcast, the Big Woods Bucks crew from New York sits down and discusses all things hunting, and even a little fishing, within the blue line. 6 million acres of old-growth forest and few roads make the Adirondacks one of the most challenging places to hunt in the country. From Iroquois and Algonquin deer drives to the early days of Adirondack guiding, the team discusses the history, legends, and lore of these ancient mountains. Along the way, the team interviews top Adirondack hunters, from well-known legends to little-known local legends, homing in on what it takes to be successful in these unforgiving woods. All right, welcome back to the Adirondack Hunt Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Connor, Big Woods Bucks CEO and video guy, and we're here in Dan Christmas's bar, and it's awesome. It's great being here. We got the usuals.
Mark Sheeran.
And
Bob Dunbar.
And we got an awesome guest today who I'm really happy to get on. His name is Ben. Is it Secor? Or?
Yeah, Secor.
Okay.
Yep.
So we had to get Ben on because he's one of those guys who you just see year after year killing big bucks.
Really big bucks
in the Adirondacks. And I think you've been on a podcast before. And,
yeah, I did one.
Well, I know you have. I listened to it.
Adirondack Bucks and Beyond there.
Yep, our friends over
those
there.
Guys,
about
a year and a half ago.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. So we wanted to get Ben on. It's our turn to interview Ben and talk to him about Big Woods hunting. So before we start, every single episode I bring swag for the guest, and then I completely do the entire podcast, and the guest goes home, and then I completely forget to give them the swag. So here's your mug.
Oh.
And a little Big Woods Bucks mug for you.
Thank you.
And then I got the... Where did that go? Little Hunt the Adirondacks t-shirt for you, Ben.
Perfect. Is it wool?
It is not wool. Do not wear that.
Do not wear that underneath.
That is cotton and it will kill you. Do not wear that hunting.
Thank you.
Although, I'm sure you'd be fine even if you did, because you seem like a rugged individual. I have to embarrass every guest by pumping them up, because I am impressed, and that's why you're here. And we'll talk about these bucks in a minute. But welcome to the podcast, Ben.
Thank you.
Yes,
so
welcome.
it's great having you. I guess I got to shout out the beer too. Saranac. We got a true Adirondack beverage here. So let's talk hunting. Yeah. So where are you from, Ben?
I live in Remsen. Kind of just off the edge of the park.
Nice.
We're about 3 miles as a crow flies from, I guess, be the western edge of the park.
Nice.
Farmland, though, it's right where it changes from farmland to bigger woods. You know.
Yeah.
Do you hunt around home?
I do, yeah. Some. That's kind of where I grew up hunting.
Mm-hmm.
But then we started doing the tent camp thing, and we've got another camp that Rodney's place there. It's 10 miles away. It's in the park.
Nice.
So we've hunted up there.
Nice.
It's a good camp to get together with. You know, you can drive to that one. So early season, muzzleloader, and first couple weekends of northern zone, we'll get together there and hunt the farm country, and then we usually transition up to the big woods.
The big woods.
Did you grow up hunting the big woods, or was it something like I didn't? I grew up in the southern zone, and then I transitioned up as I got older.
Yeah, I didn't until I was, I guess, I shot my first Adirondack buck at 16, but it was by Rodney's place. We were doing drives. He's just got some land there along the river, and a nice 8-pointer came out, and I made a iffy shot at it, and it turned and ran right towards me, and then I drilled it about 15 yards.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So, I want to talk to you about remote hunting because I think one of the most interesting things is how you do it. And we talk about Seek Outside all the time for obvious reasons. Well, not just because we're sponsored, but because we do it, really.
Yeah,
and we're just so excited about it. We use them.
Yeah.
But you do it old school. You got a wall tent. And I think that's awesome. So when did you start doing that? When did you get into that?
We got the first tent in 1999.
Yeah.
That was a Montana canvas one. So where we go, at the time, it was pretty decent trails. Almost they were like, old logging roads, and we were able to take a team of mules in.
Nice.
To haul all our stuff back. So we had a full, steel frame, and
cool.
we had 2 wood stoves in the tent, and we'd actually take like a oven out of a camper, like a 3-burner oven or 3-burner stove with an oven in it.
Right.
Nice.
Rodney would bake a cake if he got his deer. So we weren't
We're
really
not doing that in our Seek Outside.
No, you're not yet.
no, so
Dave Williams might.
pretty comfortable. But the trail since then has gotten a lot worse, and we don't have mules anymore. You wouldn't be able to get them in there now anyways. Everything's grown in so bad. So we push deer carts with all our stuff.
Yeah.
And so we're able to haul, a couple 100 pounds a piece on a deer cart if need be.
Oh, sure.
Usually it's less ideally, but
How far in are you?
we're 6 miles in from
That's a poke.
where we park.
That's good.
That's a poke.
We don't see too many people. Day hunters will turn around about 3 or 4 miles.
Yeah.
So
So the mule thing, that was legal then? I mean,
was-
is
it
it?
was a so at the time, I think it's still a gray area. Not necessarily a gray area. We checked on it.
Yeah.
You can only take horses on designated horse trails in the Adirondacks, but a
Okay.
mule or a llama or alpaca, I think, can go anywhere. I think they're considered more of a pack animal.
That's
Loophole.
interesting.
Yeah. You're a lawyer.
yeah.
Jeez.
Alan had the mules, and he was logging with them at the time, and
Yeah.
they drove and stuff. So
Yeah.
he checked into it, and the ranger at first said, "No, you can't do that." And he checked with somebody else who was already doing it in a different part, and
Nice.
they said, "Oh, yeah, I guess you can."
That's
So
cool. So
That's
what
what we did the first 6 or 7 years, probably.
So would you just tie up the mules at the camp?
I
for the
tied
week,
one
or-
up, and the other one would hang around.
Yeah.
Really?
Unless the coyote
cool.
started howling, then he'd go in the middle of the night, and he'd be off a mile or 2 chasing the coyotes off, and you'd hear him take off, leave the tent, and pretty soon he'd come thumping back, maybe an hour later. I don't know if you ever found him, but
Really?
yeah.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
Kind of protect the camp, I guess. But
That's
Yeah,
wicked
mules
cool.
are great that way.
Yeah,
They don't
mean.
tolerate
They are mean
coyotes.
animals. They are tough, resilient critters.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you just run off, shake them, and then just come right back.
yeah, I don't know if he ever actually. I would imagine the coyotes would have gone the other way when he heard a
Yeah.
700-800 pound mule running at
Oh,
you
they're
or
that
whatever.
big? See, I'm such a city boy.
they're
I
good
can't even
size.
picture a mule. So they're that big, huh?
Some of them are, yeah.
Yeah.
These were good sized ones.
No kidding. Huh. Yeah,
Because they're like a cross between a horse and a donkey, right? Isn't that what a mule is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super hardy animal.
yeah. The mother is one and the father's the other, and I forget.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
that would be so cool to do like a mule hunt. I've never seen somebody on YouTube has to put something like that if people are still doing that.
They use them a lot out west. If you go to a outfit
Yeah. Oh,
where
yeah.
you
Yeah,
hike
for
back
sure.
in, or they pack back in. Lots of times they're mules, not horses.
Yeah.
Mules are a little more calm and less
Yeah.
apt to jump off a cliff, I think. But
Yeah, right.
So a little hardier too. And I think they can go without water a little bit longer.
That's true.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're super tough.
Yeah. So how much does your tent weigh?
I think the fabric part of it's about 60 pounds.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
not bad.
So
What are the dimensions?
it's 10 by 14. And then we
All
run a tarp off over the top of that, and
Yeah.
it's like a 20 by 30 tarp, and we run that over the tent itself, and then have like a separate rain fly type of thing
Yeah.
off the end, just on some poles, so we can keep the firewood dry and put our deer carts and our guns under there.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
So I always wondered. I see that a lot where the tarp is over the tent. Is that because it's fabric and they do leak, or is that Why do they put the tarps over the top?
More for the snow to slide off, which it doesn't really, but it's easier to pull it off. But condensation's a big thing if you have that double layer.
Yeah.
You'll see where the tarp ends, like where our stovepipe comes out.
Yeah.
Where it's just fabric below that, that'll be all, condensation, and up where the tarp double layer is, you don't have it.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
So describe. Do you have a pic of the inside setup that you'd be willing to share that we could put up for the?
Yeah, maybe somewhere.
No pressure, but can you describe
around.
the inside, the setup, like how?
So
you got
we've got bunk beds. So as you come
neat.
in, we got 2 bunk beds end to end on the left. So that's they just fit. So it's that 14-foot length. So you got 2 6.5, 7-foot bunks. And then on the end, we have just a single bunk there.
Nice.
And then the stove is in the center on the right-hand side.
Okay.
There's 2 poles in it, so we lash a stick between the poles and, some screws in it so we can hang up our clothes to dry, and you hang some stuff off the tent. It's got little cup holders and things in it that flip down, and which is kind of handy. We got some folding chairs in there, or you can sit on the bunk. But you're kind of ducking your head down to sit on those.
Did you ever consider getting into the Seek Outside thing?
I would consider it. I don't really like the idea of sleeping on the ground.
Well, because I was going to say, it sounds like you got a super cozy setup, and it's like roomy, and it works for you. So, and you're willing to put in the work to cart that back. You might as well be like maximum comfort like that. Because as much as we love Seek, like you are sitting on the ground, like
right.
Yeah, it's primitive.
It's primitive. Yeah.
I want to be able to stand up straight. I want to be able to sit in a chair of some kind.
Right.
Yeah.
Lean back so you're not laying on the ground. I don't know.
I
would do it, but
you got regular Franklin stoves back in that?
We just got a new stove last year. The old one rusted out. Trying to think of the name of it. The Little Dog or something. It's A Metal Works, I think. It's a company out of the Midwest. And it was fairly reasonable, I thought. $400 and some bucks.
Yeah.
The legs and stuff all fit inside it. We already had stovepipe, but they make telescoping stovepipe that goes in it.
Okay, so that one's specifically for wall tents?
I think the guys use them in the Seek Outside, like the hot tent type things too.
Gotcha.
There's different size. This is the smaller one.
I gotcha.
The guy that owns the company says I've got a 10 by 14 because they make a big dog one.
Yeah.
That I was debating on the size, and they tell you the square footage, and
Right.
he said I used the Little Dog one, and so that's what we went with, and it's actually keeps the tent a lot more comfortable than the old one did because it doesn't burn quite as hot. It's got a baffle in there, and it'll keep a fire pretty much all night.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
That's good.
and the guys on the top bunks aren't sweating to death quite as bad.
Yeah. So when you started, was it your dad? Was it your grandfather? Was it you that created this situation, or
More my father and his friends. Alan is kind of the ringleader. He's 75 now, so he's not going back in there anymore. But he had the mules. His cousin Rodney, we always hunted together in the farm country, and Rodney's just still going in. He just turned 70 last year, and he made it in there. So he's taking it year by year. It takes him longer to get in and stuff, but loves it. So he's and his son Rick goes in with us now, and some other guys more my age. But my father made it in last year with my nephew for a few days at 74, 75 he was at the time, but it's getting harder for him.
Yeah, that's a poke.
Yeah, that's
6
a
miles.
long ways.
So we asked this of a lot of guests who do the remote thing, and it may be equal parts, but do you like the solitude more? Is that why you're doing it? Stay away from other hunters, or is it more about the theory, or perhaps the fact that the age class is better in remote areas, or maybe a mix of both? I'm just curious.
Probably
why
a
you do it.
mix of both. You know, I shot a lot of bucks in Remsen, and the biggest one was, their body size, they're comparable sometimes, but 175 pounds is probably the biggest one I shot in Remsen.
Yeah.
Although we've gotten some 200-pounders out of the tent, and the
nice.
genetics are way better. You know, get where they can grow older and big, massive racks, and you know, more. In Remsen, a 8-pointer, you know, hardly ever see a 10-pointer get shot. You know, there's more points, bigger, heavier racks, and but just tougher hunt. But I like to be able to go after one and not run into anybody. Still occasionally run into body of water or posted land or something. You got to turn back. But
so you ran into somebody, which is a notable story, which I just found out that they scooped us on the story on the Big Woods Bucks podcast with Dan Christmas they just recorded. But perhaps we could hear from your side. Maybe it's a little bit different. So you tell us about that, who you ran into and how.
Yeah, would have been, I think it was 21. I'd been back in the tent by myself. Didn't work out. Anybody else could go. So I was in there for 8 or 9 days, and I found this kind of new area where there was a couple of big bucks, you know, big tracks in there, and we had good track and snow. And like 4 days in a row, I went back and I got on the same buck track. He's just staying and feeding in the same like swamp area. Mm-hmm. And the last day I got there, and the snow was kind of leaving. Hunting in the rain and stuff, and I got there about 9 in the morning, I think, and caught up with this buck. First time I jumped him that day, you know. Yep. I didn't actually jump him. He was standing there looking back at me, and I could see his tail end, and then he turned his head, and I could see tines, and there's a spruce tree in the way, and I took the gamble, to shoot at him standing there through that spruce tree, and it worked out. It drilled him, and I shot 3 more times at him, and he stopped, did a half circle around me, and he stopped, and I got a good shot in his neck and dropped him there. And I did a little video thing that I put on my Facebook page, like the interview like Joe Donito would do. I think that was the first time I did one. It came out.
I remember that one, that you posted. That was that buck, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was at that point, I was like 4 miles from the tent, and it's like 11:30, and I got to start dragging. So I got him dressed out, and at least we had snow to drag on. And so I start dragging. I figure it's going to take me all day to get back to the tent. And I get, I don't know, about a mile away. Actually, I dragged him through. There was a couple of moose in there, and I had to chase a bull moose off, right where I had to go. He was standing there about 60, 70 yards. Yeah. And I think I videoed that too with my phone, just, get out of here. And he ran a little ways and he stopped, and
cool.
Another bull came out from the side. I'd seen their tracks in there, so I knew that they were around, but they were right in the way. But I scared them off, kept dragging, and I don't know, maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock. I've been dragging a while. And, I've been in there 8 days, haven't seen another boot track, anybody. It had snow the whole time.
Right.
And all of a sudden, boom, I hear this cannon go off, not far at all away. And I'm thinking, somebody's come in, something's wrong. So I get my phone out, see if I can get service or whatever, and wondering if, somebody's come out looking for me or what the deal is. And I thought, maybe it could have been somebody from, got in there from the other road or through that big swamp or whatever. And so I didn't think too much of it. I kept dragging. I got the deer back to the tent. I don't remember if I think it was before dark, but so I got online, and I'd ran into Dan Christmas like 20 years prior when we first started going in with a group. They were doing some drives. We overlapped this one area, and we had ran into him, and I remember him telling a deer story. And so I knew he hunted in there, or did back then, and I looked him up online, and he had put some kind of post out on Facebook, and that he had shot at a deer. And so I sent him a message, and he says, "Who's this?" He says, "Call me." So he told me the whole story, and I figured he had seen, there was another big buck track in there, and I don't know if he was on that one. Probably, likely he was. Yeah, but he had seen my drag marks after he shot, and he had ended up wounding his and following it till dark, I think. And I'd have gone and helped them if I didn't have my own to drag out, but I didn't even know what the, deal was. You hear a shot in the woods, it could be somebody, shooting at a coyote or, shooting a signal shot or whatever. So I was headed back to the tent. I wasn't going to backtrack. And,
Right.
So
that's funny. And it seems like you guys have become good friends, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is cool.
Yeah, we share a little intel. And we did a moose shed hunt there this spring and found, Dan found the nicer ones, but we found where a bull must have spent the last few winters. That we got, he got a fresh side and a side from probably 2 or 3 years old, and I found the match to the older one. Pretty beat up.
But mind if we throw those pics up when we publish it?
No, it's fine.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm big into moose shed hunting. That's why I'm interested. But go ahead.
Yeah. Would you say that you like still hunting more or tracking? Talk a little bit about your technique. Like, what is your passion? If you were to say that this is the type of hunting that I like to do at the beginning of the day, what's it look like? So are you in a tent? Are you in a hotel? Are you at home?
Yeah, tracking is the passion, but you don't always have snow,
Yeah.
And out of the tent is ideal. I've hunted out of camps and tried tracking and stuff or riding roads looking for but that's not, it works, and I'll do that if I can. You can cover a lot more ground. But I feel more comfortable in the tent. I know the land. I have some idea which way to go usually. But the other stuff works too. I mean, I've shot a handful of them tracking up there, and I've shot a few still hunting, and I've shot a few sitting. The one last year was I sat all day, which I didn't know if I could or not, because it could be a cold, crunchy day. Basically, I'm hunting the conditions. If we got tracking snow, I'm tracking. If we've got wet weather, I'm poking around, still hunting, doing some calling. The grunt tube works well up there. But yeah, stand. If I've tried stand hunting early muzzleloader in there, and that's been a bust so far. But I'm going to keep trying it because I did 4 all day sits. The weather's nicer then, but
that's rough.
I never saw a deer that year.
Yeah, you don't see anything. That's rough.
Last year I tried it again, and it was hot the time I was in there, and I did 1 all day sit, which is like 11 hours. That time of year, something like that. And I'm hiking 2 hours in the dark, getting there and getting back. So
was that back on your remote spot that you were sitting?
Yeah.
Who'd you bring like a climber back there or something, or?
I pushed in a lightweight
ladder stand or
portable stand. No, not a ladder, just steps. You
all right,
fasten to the tree.
Yeah.
So you've been hunting the same area for more than a decade?
1999, so it'll be 26, 27 years.
So do you guys kill a buck every year, or 1 or 2 bucks every year?
I would say, like the best year we ever had, I think we got 4 when 8 of us used to go.
Yeah.
Now there's more like 1 to 4 or 5 of us. Okay. And it's been about 1 a year. We had quite a streak going where at least somebody got a buck for the first 15, 16 years or something, and then we had some, years where we didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you don't think, I'm not saying this is the case, but I know a lot of people ask this question about stationary camps. So you get a bunch of guys that go in there, they kill over the course of 10 years, $30, $20 or something.
$10.
Yeah. 10.
Probably in 10 years.
Pretty good.
So you don't ever worry about cleaning a place out. I know there are some clubs where they go in and they wreak havoc. They do a lot of drives and they push it, but you're not doing that, it sounds like.
Yeah, we're not good enough to clean them out. They cover up there. The bucks cover so much ground.
It doesn't matter.
They're making 10-mile loops.
Yeah.
And one that we'll get pictures of deer in the summertime and never see them during season. Then during season we'll get bucks that show up that we've never had on
before.
Camera.
Right.
But some of them, a lot of them are stick around or pass back through.
What's the forest composition where you're at? Mostly
a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
Beach.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah.
Is it beech bark disease,
Yeah.
a lot of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
the
usually our
pitting.
firewood.
Stunted
The
beeches.
tops blow out of it and stuff.
Yeah.
We'll get beech nuts some years. Actually,
Okay.
those diseased trees sometimes seem to produce
I've
better
noticed
than healthy ones. But a lot of beech. There's some areas with white pine. There's balsam, spruce fir, soft maple, cherry.
Are you in swampy area or rolling mountains?
It's a mix.
Is it?
There's smallish mountains. I mean, you could go up and down 2 or 3 of them in a day. And
Yep.
there's some spruce tops on them. I've never shot one up on top yet. I passed one up 2 years ago that I was bedded up in the spruce on the top, but I was holding out for something bigger.
So yeah, based on the bucks that you have shot, it seems like you likely pass up bucks, at least, you know.
I've been getting fussy, maybe too fussy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 'cause
I don't
these
know.
are,
The end results seem pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of judge, we got a long season, and so early in the season, that's why I go in with the muzzleloader. I'd like to fill that one tag, get 2 big ones in the same year, get one with the muzzleloader, get one with the rifle. But yeah, I kind of evaluate when the snow's coming, what the deer is I see, what I think's out there with the trail camera pictures. And, if we got a bunch of big ones on camera that are, 130 inches or something, that's kind of, I think, where my, early in the season, if it's not 125, 130, and I get a good look at it, I'm probably going to let it go.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's better ones there.
Yeah.
But,
So those better ones, I think it's a good time to talk about those. Which do you think we ought to talk about first? Does it matter?
That 10,
This
wide
one?
10 there was the most recent. That was last
All right,
year.
Let me grab that. This podcast is brought to you in part by Minus 33. Minus 33 is a wool and textile manufacturer based in New Hampshire that is producing top-notch merino wool base layers and socks. Layering your clothes when you're hunting the big woods is key. As we've discussed on the podcast, the conditions and distances involved in hunting the Adirondacks mean that you have to take your gear seriously. You can't afford to not have the best gear, and that's particularly true of your base layers. Minus 33 long johns should be an essential part of your gear system to keep you warm while you're out in the Adirondack backcountry. As for socks, I've tried dozens of pairs of wool socks over the years, and Minus 33 Heritage socks are by far the comfiest. If you go on the Minus 33 website, you can read about the care that they've taken to create these socks. And once you put them on, the difference is obvious. They are perfect for long days hoofing it up and down mountains in the Dacks. So get prepped for the next season now by clicking on the link in the description and getting stocked up on Minus 33 merino base layers and socks. Happy hunting! For all you big buck hunters, if you're looking for an ideal base camp for hunting the big woods in the Adirondacks and Tug Hill, you've got to call our friends at Christmas & Associates. For over 35 years, they've been providing land and camps to sportsmen. 5 to 50 acres, rivers, streams, and ponds in some of the best locations. Affordable prices and in-house financing with low monthly payments. They can even build their Adirondack-style cabins on property you already own. For more information, call Christmas & Associates at 1-800-229-7843 or go to landandcamps.com or visit them on Facebook at Christmas & Associates. Take care.
I sent the tooth out and had that age. That one was 8.5 years old, which surprised me a little bit.
What an
That's
impressive
cool.
buck. What did the score?
140 and change, almost 141.
Wow. What year did you say it was again?
24.
24.
That's
Oh, this was last year.
Last year, yep.
Yep. I remember seeing the pic. I don't remember the story, though. I'm sure you did post about the story. But
I ended up shooting them just before dark, so I didn't do the interview thing because it was, bare ground. I had to start dragging.
Yeah.
And I did an all-day sit.
this was the all-day sit.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
I had a good feeling about that stand location, and I actually shot at a buck the day before, missed him. Still hunting around because it was, quiet walking and stuff. I knew the next day was going to be crunchy, and I had a good feeling about that stand location, so I packed a pair of coveralls out there by the stand so I could put those on, maybe stay all day. It was supposed to be like 20, 30 degrees max that day, and I knew everything was going to be crunchy, and I scouted and still hunted around every place I wanted to the day before, the previous days.
Yeah.
And this is out of remote. This is
out of the remote tent, but I'm about 3.5 miles from it.
Okay.
Where I'm finding the best sign.
So you've committed to a sit, and how did you decide to commit to that spot to sit?
I had some trail cameras in the area. I had this buck on camera. I'd pulled the card and seen I had him in the previous week I'd had 2 or 3 pictures of him, or maybe 2 weeks. One or 2 were in daylight.
Right.
And so I figured he could be hanging pretty close. I think it was November 17th, maybe.
Yeah.
So they were cruising.
So they're cruising, yeah.
They seem to this year be hanging a little tighter, not making as big of loops from what I could gather. But
well, this one's got this unique thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that when I shot him. I noticed. Well, actually, once I got him back to camp, he had a big bump, like an abscess over his eye, which I figured was probably a scar from fighting. And once I got him, I deboned him, brought him out in pieces from the tent. I dragged him back to the camp that night and whole, and then I deboned him the next day. I left the head on, all the, the cape, not the cape, but the hide on his head. And a week or 10 days later, I was going to boil the skull, and I got my knife in there around the eye socket, and I could feel something hard in that this tine. I don't know if you can see the.
Yeah. So this tine, I don't know if the cameras can see that.
We'll take a close-up pic and put it up on the screen.
So it's right in the eyeball, right in the eye socket. That's crazy.
Had wedged in there fighting with another buck, I assume, and it was. He still had sight in the eye.
Did he really?
I had nighttime pictures of him, and both eyes were glowing. We've got bucks before that have been blind in one eye, and the eye doesn't glow with the camera pics. So it was working, but it had to be super uncomfortable. But yeah, it was punched into the inner part of that nasal cavity or whatever, and
wow.
That's so crazy. They're such tough animals.
And it looked like it could have been from a year prior with all the, like it was healed up around there and all,
right.
Oh, so there was no raw scarring, just
no, it was like a hair-covered wart or abscess type thing that was probably a half-inch high just over the eye.
Yeah, just
yeah. But it could have been maybe from earlier in the year, but my guess would be it had been in there a year.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, not that I've been around that long,
but yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his eyeball looked normal.
It looked a little funny, as I remember, but
it still worked.
It worked, yeah.
Unbelievable. They're so tough, man. They are such tough animals.
I want to get back to just how you chose that spot, because I don't know, me personally, and maybe some of the audience struggles with committing to the sit. Like I said, that's just what I call it. Like you're making a decision to spend all day sitting in one spot, and we talk all the time about the buck is just over the next rise syndrome, where it's like I got to get up and check it out. So, how do you deal with that mental game? Well, how did you find the spot? I mean, I know you said there was good sign. Are we talking scrape line or rubs?
Yeah, there was some rubs there from earlier in the season. Mm-hmm. There's some grassy areas in there, like some clearings where the sun can get at. So I was able to set up where I could see probably where I first saw him was probably 90 yards, my longest shooting lane or whatever. But I could see 50 yards behind me, 40 yards the other way. And so it was just a spot where I figured they could come from any direction. The wind likes to swirl up there. So, there wasn't really a runway that you could pick out or anything like that. But I knew they passed through there. I had tracked bucks through, within, 30, 40 yards of that stand location previous years. Picked up tracks right in that spot. Rodney had shot a small buck back there in about the same spot years ago, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just out cruising around. So
Can you describe the spot a little bit more? So you said there was an opening. Were we talking softwoods, hardwoods? Were there terrain features?
Just kind of rolling, like a swamp all around. This was kind of a rise out of it. There was a burn in there years and years ago, like 1901 or something.
Yeah.
And so it's mostly all a lot of white pine in there. There's some cherry trees. I was in a cherry tree.
Yeah.
Was there any one thing where you said, this is the place I'm going to be, rather than 5 other spots in the back of your head, or was it a gut feeling?
Actually, I had another spot in mind. There was a beaver dam crossing, and that I had a cell camera on. Yeah. And while I was in the stand waiting on this one, 8 in the morning, nice buck and a doe crossed
of course.
The other spot. So that was November 13th, I want to say. Yeah, so I wouldn't have had to sit all day there. I would only had to sit a couple hours if the wind was right. And so it's a gamble, but I like that. I like to set up on pinch points too. This wasn't really a pinch point. It's like they could go through anywhere, but it just seemed like from the all the years hunting in there, that seemed to be a place where they were likely to.
So it really, so for you, it came down to really like an odds game. In the back of your head, you're thinking, okay, there's rubs, there's scrapes. I've cut 5 tracks through all these years. It's an odds game. I wait long enough, I'm going to see something. Is it that simple?
Yeah, and there's does there. I mean, I knew there's does hanging around. Lots of times go in there, you see some tails or whatever.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a huge
more piles of crap around and stuff. And, so I knew there were does there that I figured they were going to be cruising. Bucks were going to be cruising. Had pictures of multiple bucks on the cameras around there that I would shoot.
How many cameras do you run?
I've got 5, I think, now.
Okay.
I've got, I just picked up a new cell cam. I got one in there that went dead in 17 days with fresh batteries. I tried the battery pack and stuff, and 17 days again went dead. That was on that migration trail, or pinch point, and it appears to be migration trail too. So I've got one that's working now, but it just sent me a message that it's 99% battery is used up. And I didn't make it in this April like I like to I just ran out of time. Usually we go in the spring, try to cut a little firewood, clear trails, and check the cameras. I've got some non-cell cameras in there that are probably still working.
Right, yeah.
But lots of times the ferns and things grow up in front of them, so they're out of commission for most of the summer. So.
I have more questions,
please,
if you don't mind. So what did you shoot them with?
I've got a pump 7600.
With a scope, or?
Yep, I got Trijicon scope on there, 3-9.
And you're comfortable with the 3-9 for tracking? You leave it on 3 power, or?
Yeah, I leave it on 3. Even when I'm sitting, I'll turn it up if I need to. I didn't have to on this one. I knew as soon as he stepped out, what he was, and he wasn't going to give me much time when he came through. And I actually heard him rubbing a tree, and I'd never heard a snort wheeze before.
Yeah.
And the snort wheeze. I'd been sitting there all day, like 1:30, a spike horn came through, and nothing else. And I would grunt every so often, every 20 minutes or half an hour.
Yeah,
and I don't know if he was hanging out there and he just heard the grunt every so often, or if he's just passing through at that time. But I heard him. At first, I thought it was bucks like sparring, because I could hear horns against
something.
But at that point, you've been there for how many hours, and is it your imagination, or
you're hearing all kinds of things?
But it kept up enough that I was sure that it was a buck either rubbing a tree or a little sparring or something. And then I had grunted like one last time, and I just shut up. It was like 4:05 or something. Right. I think he stepped out at 4:15, but I heard I don't know if it was the snort wheeze, but the exhale of it.
Yeah.
It was super quiet that day, and I was glad I was sitting, because you weren't going to sneak up on anything that day.
Yeah.
And
how often do you sit?
It depends on the weather and stuff.
I'd say in a year, like 5 times, or?
Maybe more. I mean, some
Really?
I don't really like to sit. Lots of times the weather, if it's going to be lousy out, I don't think I can dress warm enough. I'll plan to sit all day and then I'll change my mind and get too cold or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Or if it's raining, I don't really want to sit, and I pack those coveralls back there, and then I can dress light and get to the stand, put the coveralls on, and bundle up best I can.
Mm-hmm.
I was warm enough that day, and it was probably 25, I would say, during midday. But I don't know. It all depends on the weather. You know, if we get even marginal tracking snow, I'm usually tracking when I would probably have better odds sitting. You know, you get a half inch of snow or an inch of snow that doesn't get everywhere, and you're still trying to make it work. And, you know, say it's the middle of the rut, you're better off sitting in a spot that's somewhat proven, or even not proven. They could be anywhere at that time. But I always have to I just love seeing the tracks in the snow and trying to figure them out. And,
So would you say that you'd rather sit and track than still hunt, or would sitting be your third choice?
Sitting would probably be the third choice.
Yeah.
I'm
in that club too.
Still hunting, I'm also scouting.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really still hunt the whole day. I'll cover a lot of ground, and then when I get to an area where I've seen deer in the past or start seeing some sign, then I start still hunting, doing a little grunting. And there's a lot of areas out, times I'll walk a mile and not even break stride, just to get somewhere else.
Yep.
There's plenty of spots there where I've never seen a deer. So those areas I just cruise through, and I know where there's pockets of deer hunting up there so long. Some years they aren't there, some years they are. So I'll just bounce from spot to spot, and when I get in there close, I'll start on the grunt tube or, poking along. I shot a buck rubbing his horns one year. I think it was Halloween day, just poking along real old grown-in skid road. And it varies.
It's funny, you're talking about does and stuff, and I've hunted up here enough now, 20 years, to know that you can go through places where there's no deer ever, and it's a desert. We call that the desert, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I can be in a place where I know there's does. We have some spots that we just, there's going to be does there, and bucks are going to be cruising through. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those places where he shot a bunch of deer, and I've shot at a bunch of deer and missed them, but they're always there. And if I was to take this particular mountainside that has all these does that are there every year and consistently, and compared it to the mountain right next door, there's no difference that you can see. But there's something about that, and I've been trying to figure this out. There's like 5 places that I know, and it's just a mountainside with beach and fern. like
Yeah, I don't know either.
There's an equal thing over here, and I've never seen a doe there in 20 years, or a buck.
Lots of times the does will just feed along on the side of a mountain. They're just bedding where they're feeding, and they no rhyme or reason for it. Lots of times it may be a south or east facing slope, but there's ferns everywhere. There's beach everywhere if there's beech nuts. That doesn't narrow it down much, so I'm just kind of going off of historical data.
Me too.
Maybe it has something to do with the mineral content.
That's what I've always thought.
That's possible.
And maybe
they sense it. They smell it.
Not that I eat the ferns, and we'll be able to tell if this fern is bitter and this one is sweet. No, but they seem to know.
I honestly think it's something like that. There's got to be some biologic thing that happens, because by sight and they look identical. These mountains look identical, but 80% of the time they're on this one, and you're like, geez, what is it that attracts them? And that can be a little bit daunting, because you have 30 of those mountains in this area, that you can hunt for a lifetime.
Right.
And geez,
no rhyme, no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
On the other hand, though, I think in my experience, at least, you do have those spots where you can reliably see deer 2 or 3 years in a row. And then I'm thinking of one spot in particular where I went back this year on really nice snow, and I couldn't cut a buck track to save my life, and I did a 6-mile loop. So I don't know if that's been your experience where it goes
I think
dead.
lots of times we're walking around them, when they start slowing down late in the season,
Right.
There's been days I've gone 5-6 days, maybe not 5 or 6, but all day. There's big bucks in the area. You've got pictures of them, not necessarily right then, but they're tied up somewhere with the doe, or they're in a little swamp feeding, and there's places where we don't go just because they're so nasty. And that other buck there, he was bedded in what we call the Black Forest in there. It's dark in the middle of the day,
That's
a good segue. Let's talk about that one. And, yep.
Maybe a half mile from our tent,
Those are the nice ones.
Yeah. He didn't end up there. Well, he did after I shot him.
Short drags.
This might be one of my favorite bucks that I've seen in years.
One of my favorites.
It's so freaking boreal. Look at this thing. That's what I call him, Boreal. Just a beast. Just an utter beast. And beautiful.
Yeah.
So gnarly around the bases.
Look at the mass on that thing. I mean, how much did he weigh? Do you know?
Weighed him in the tent at like 177, I think. And I dragged him out whole.
A nice view of that, and then did I just drop something?
No. I think it's just a bark off the thing. It's half on there, but doesn't matter.
You're breaking his mouth,
I'm sorry, man.
Might need another T-shirt now.
Yeah, seriously, 2 or 3. It's a beautiful piece of wood. It's a beautiful mount. So, what's the story with this one?
So that's one we'd had pictures of for quite a few years, but only like once a year he'd cross on that one beaver dam.
Yep.
And I had a lousy picture of him that year. Body looked really big compared, the horns compared to his body didn't look huge in some of the pictures. But the previous year he was actually bigger. I had pictures of him, good pictures of him. His tines, G2s were a couple inches longer, so he was maybe on the decline. He was, probably just as heavy, I think. But I tracked this one. Kind of a long story, but I guess the shorter version is my buddy Rick and I were in the same area the night before I picked up his track. Rick had seen a real nice buck chasing a doe. They went out to the doe crossed the trail. The buck never saw. It must have crossed further down or something. I was across the water hunting that night before and tracking around I think a smaller buck. But Rick had seen the big one the night before, so we decided to both go back to the same area and see if we could pick up the track of a good one. We figured there was a hot doe in the area or multiple.
Right.
So this is about 1.5 miles from the tent, I guess. We get out there and end up cutting a bunch of. Rick went one way, I went the other way. He never cut any tracks. In the meantime, I got pictures on the beaver dam camera as I'm going down there of a bunch of deer almost as I'm getting there. And I happened to have service, and they came through, and it was 4 does. And I actually ended up seeing the does. They were headed my way, and Rick had gone around. He'd never seen the doe tracks. Like, they had gone his direction and kicked back for some reason. So we went over, and I showed Rick. Rick didn't know exactly where the camera was, so he hadn't been right down to it. So I showed him where the camera was, and I pulled the cards, and the does had all crossed there, and then we had running tracks coming back, and which didn't make a lot of sense. So we backtracked to the way Rick had come in. I just wanted to see what had spooked them, or we were going to go someplace else anyways. So we get up there, and the does had come to Rick's track footprints and spooked back. And then, but on the other side, and Rick hadn't cut a track. We had fresh snow. Rick hadn't cut a track all the way out there. And there's these other tracks coming down to from the other way in that same spot, and they spook back up the mountain. And one of those looks really good. but they're running and they're kind of hard to sort out. So I'm like, well, I sent Rick around where I thought, the buck track was likely to cross going towards another mountain. And I went up, sorted it out. We were on the side of that mountain. You can text back and forth. So we were texting. I sent him around where a waypoint I had on, about on another trail. And so he got out ahead while I was kind of sorting out the running track. And I got it sorted out, and this buck was up and down the mountain. He was feeding a little bit, checking does a little bit, and then he had bailed down. Well, we knew it was fresh because Rick had gone through. There was no track there, and this was maybe an hour later, and this buck track had come down, seen his track, and so we knew it was a fresh track. And when Rick was going around to, the other watch there, he had seen the track coming down off the mountain. We didn't know if it was the same one. So I spent an hour up on the side of that mountain following his track, and ended up coming down, and it had crossed and gone into the low ground. And it would have had to go up a few hundred yards further in the hardwoods where I'd sent Rick. There's like a saddle between two mountains. I thought, buck would apt to be going through the way the track was headed when we saw it. So the buck headed to the low ground, and like I say, there's a black forest. There's like a alder thicket, and then a stream that you can't really get across. He crossed on an old beaver dam spot. You could see a few sticks in the water. You didn't know how deep it was, and I decided to take the gamble and try to skip across there and not get soaked. We were fairly close to the tent. I figured if I fell in, I could go back to the tent, and I didn't want to waste the time to go out and around, across where there's an old culvert. So I got in there and went in thick of the black forest, and he started feeding. So I slowed down, did some grunting. We had a little bit of a crunch on the snow, so I didn't figure I was going to sneak up on one that day, but I figured I could probably get close enough. If I grunted, I might be able to grunt him back. So I started doing that once he started feeding, and got down in there, and it was like noontime, and I'd done that a few times. No, it hadn't worked. And so I ate my lunch there, went a little ways further. He's still feeding, and I come to a bed. It was just in the thickest spot in there. You never would have snuck up on him, never would have seen him, and apparently he hadn't heard me grunt, or he didn't care, and I'd blown him out, but I didn't know it. So he ran quite a ways. I gave him a half an hour, like Hal says to do, which I don't really know if you have to do that in the Adirondacks because they run so far. I think by the time you catch up to them the next time, they've already forgotten what you were, or they know you're back there. And so he straight lined it for quite a while. I followed him I was maybe 12:30 when I jumped him. He got up going through the hardwood, still running. Then he'd cross some doe tracks, and he'd start sniffing those, and started slowing down to a walk, and started feeding again. He hit a big signpost rub, just barely hit it, but then he rubbed another tree nearby, and went a little ways further. At that point,
you're in the game.
I really slowed down.
Yeah,
and I was doing the grunt trick, and I'd go 100 yards maybe and grunt, wait 4 or 5 minutes, go again. And, so I guess this maybe isn't the short version of the story, but
no, this is great. I'm captivated.
We're all there.
This is great.
We're all walking with you.
So he goes back into some lower ground, the spruce fir stuff off the mountain. Where he hit the signpost was going down into the lower ground. He crossed a little vley there. I was hoping to catch him out in that, or there was a real nice knob on the other side of that I thought he would have to be bedded on. So I took a lot of time there and grunted a bunch of times and didn't work. But he was still feeding, and then I got crossed another trail that we use, and going through, and then he starts really meandering and feeding, and so I'm going real slow at this point, doing the grunt thing every so often, trying to be as quiet as I can, but you're still making some crunch. And finally I get down in there, maybe after I cross that trail half a mile or something. Come to the spot, and he's like feeding over here, he's feeding over there.
Oh, he's right there.
Tracks all over.
Yeah, he's
I
right
hadn't
there.
seen a bed, other than the bed I jumped
He's
him
right
out
there.
of. So I figured he had to be real close. So I let out just a couple soft, short grunts, and I heard something. I got the gun up, and he was coming back to me. And he grunted once where I couldn't see him, but in a spot where it's pretty thick, And so I got the gun pointed the direction I heard him, and I could see a glimpse of him coming. There's a bunch of spruce trees there, and had the movement in the scope. And I could tell he was going to step out, but just before that, I'd felt the wind switch. Like it kind of been in my favor most of the day, and I'd felt that wind switch, and I didn't really think he was going to come if he was bedded in that direction where I had heard the noise. But I was ready, and he half stepped out and whirled like at the same time, and I just fired.
Yep.
And he was maybe 20 yards, and I knew I had him in the scope, but there's so much going on there that I didn't.
Right,
I hoped I hit him.
Flurry of crazy.
Yeah. And so I go down there, and I've got some blood, and this goes into another day.
I'm ready.
So I hit him. Turns out I had hit him. I was pretty glad to see blood, but all the blood was in one left front track.
Yeah, he's got him in the shoulder.
And he had gone about
armpit.
100 yards and stood and bled decent. But he had ran from there, and he went quite a ways after the decent blood where he stood. It was real spotty and iffy, and it was like 3:30, and I was afraid I was just going to keep pushing him, keep jumping him. So I decided to give him the night. It wasn't supposed to snow that night, and go back, pick him up the next day, which is what I did. But as I'm going back to the tent, it starts snowing. There's no snow in the forecast. It's supposed to be a cold, clear night, and it snowed about a half an inch or something. And so I was a little worried that I wouldn't be able to find blood, or if he got in with some other deer. But luckily, he never did. Got back there the next morning just after daylight, and sent Rick around. I figured he would bed up pretty quick. If he was hit even halfway decent, and he had bedded up 6 or 7 times in a spot.
Yeah,
maybe
you're gonna kill him then.
Yeah, 150 yards from where I left him.
Yep.
And but the first 5 or 6 beds all had that dusting of snow in them, and from the night before. And I'm going as quiet as I can. I'm not grunting now because there's no point. He's a wounded deer, but I figured I would find him, or push him to Rick, or I've had all day. I figured we'd get him. He hadn't run into the other deer tracks. I hadn't even crossed one leaving the tent to wherever 2 miles it was to go back and pick him back up. And I jumped him once, heard him, saw a glimpse, couldn't get a shot. Rick actually heard him from the other trail, and but he kind of paralleled the trail that Rick was on, and so I just kept sneaking along, and the next time it was a little more open, and I got a shot at him when he jumped up and he went away. And to this point, I didn't know which buck it was. I just knew I saw a rat coming through the spruces, and when he stepped out, I shot. And at that point, I got a real good look at his rack, and he's a good one, which I was pretty sure of anyways.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I hit him with that. I grazed his back. The way he was running away from me, I couldn't tell if I got one into his neck, and I'm still not sure, because there's a pile of hair there, but no more blood. But after that, I caught up to him again in another 100 yards, and it was opening up down below me. I'm looking way down below, expecting to see him bedded there, and there's a little spruce tree right in front of me, and from here to the wall away, he was bedded behind that tree. And I
drilled him.
I drilled him then. And
So the first shot, was it in the armpit or the shoulder?
It was like in the armpit on the opposite side, but it had gone up and in. I couldn't really. I'd hit his foot too, so it was in the ankle and the opposite armpit, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it had gone in.
That's when they bleed down that one leg. It's almost always in the armpit or in the flesh, and then the bullet.
And it was low.
Down.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. There was no exit wound that I remember. But all those inside, it was kind of a little low, a little far back. But like the lungs were damaged. They didn't look right. Yeah. And probably mainly a liver hit or something, I would guess. So he was pretty sick feeling. I hated to, it was a pretty sleepless night. Yeah. Because I didn't know it was, 50-50 on whether I was going to
get him
or not. But you hate to lose one, especially like this.
Yeah, that's a beautiful buck.
Beast.
He scores like 130 something, 138, I think. And 7.5 years old.
Yeah, what a great buck.
So that is
a great story too.
All right.
Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a great conversation. I think there's a lot of good advice in this that I hope the viewers can take away. I've certainly taken away some good tips from you.
It took me a long time. The first 7 or 8 years we were in the tent, I couldn't get the job done.
That gives me hope.
It took me 9 years.
Yeah. I think I was just going too fast and trying to see everything and not really taking my time to hunt where the deer
I'm on year 6, so I feel that gives me hope, and I hope that gives the listeners hope. It's possible to become a complete badass like Ben.
We call it running and gunning. Yeah. Running and gunning.
Well, after that, it was 5 and 5 years out of the tent camp. So
so something clicked, I guess, for you.
Yeah.
And
it does.
That seems like kind of a theme. So
I'm glad you said that, though. I'm glad you said that because it's real important for people to know when they go up north, if they go through these dry spells, how heart-wrenching that can be. And because you see all this stuff on the internet, and I do want to say that at the end here, and I made that a big point in my book my book is about learning to track,
Yeah.
And I wrote it at a time when I was finding success finally, And I was running and gunning. I didn't know that that's what I was doing. I thought I was hunting, but I was really exploring.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the difference, so I think that's an important lesson for people.
And especially for you, Ben, because like I introduced you as somebody who, gets it done every year, who kills big bucks every year. And it's important that folks see that because you are an accomplished hunter. But like Mark said, I think that's really important for the listeners and for people who are learning. And I think you have a lot to share, and that really came across. So
I'm
really happy to have you on.
After the 5 and 5 years, I think there was a 4-year dry spell for me out of the tent. I was shooting bucks and around home, but it's you never know.
That's right.
Yeah, got to get after it. So, all right, that's it for today, and we thank you again for coming on, Ben, and good luck this year. Hopefully, we can check in.
Thanks.
In December or something and see how you did.
If I get one like this, I'll let you know.
Awesome. I'm sure I'll see it.
I'm sure we'll find out.
All
right, all you legends. We'll see you next time. Take care now.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Adirondack Hunt Podcast. You can find more episodes at bigwoodsbucks.com. Check out bigwoodsbucks.com for the latest gear, including our famous American-made wool hunting jackets, wool hunting fanny packs, and wool hunting pants, along with books, tracking guides, and logo wear. See you next time.